The rain had been falling since dawn, soft at first, almost polite, then heavier, as if the sky itself had decided it couldn't hold back anymore. By the time we reached the cemetery, the ground was already dark and muddy, the air thick with the smell of wet earth and wilting flowers. Black umbrellas bloomed everywhere, opening and closing like quiet shields. People stood close together, yet I had never felt more alone. I stood at the front, beside my parents. My mother's hand was clenched tightly around a handkerchief she had already soaked through. My father stared straight ahead, his face stiff, unreadable. Not angry. Not broken. Just still. That unsettled me more than the rain. The priest's voice drifted through the air, low and rhythmic, mixing with the sound of raindrops hitting plastic and stone, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. The words felt unreal. Like they belonged to another family. Another grave. My sister's coffin lay between us and the open ground, closed, polished, final. No last look. No goodbye kiss. Just a sealed wooden box and the certainty everyone expected me to accept. I tried to cry. I really did. But my chest felt hollow, as if someone had scooped everything out and left only weight behind. Grief didn't rush in like people said it would. It sat quietly, pressing down on my lungs, making every breath feel borrowed. A woman behind me sniffled loudly. Someone murmured a prayer. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, then went silent again. Life continued, casually, cruelly. I remembered my sister's laugh, how it cut through rooms, how she never walked anywhere without humming under her breath. The idea that all of that had ended beneath this gray sky felt impossible. "She's in a better place now," an aunt whispered as she passed me, touching my arm gently. I nodded, because that's what you're supposed to do. But a strange thought crept in, uninvited and unwelcome. Why did this feel unfinished? As the pallbearer stepped forward, my hands trembled. The coffin shifted slightly, ropes tightening, ready to be lowered into the ground. The priest paused, bowing his head for a final prayer. That was when it happened. A sudden vibration against my palm. I flinched, startled by the sharp intrusion. Slowly, I looked down. My phone screen lit up beneath the umbrella, glowing far too bright for a moment like this. Unknown number. My breath caught. For a split second, I thought of ignoring it. This wasn't the time. This wasn't the place. But something, instinct, maybe, made my thumb move anyway. The coffin hadn't been lowered yet. And as the rain continued to fall, I opened the message, unaware that the silence around me was about to shatter completely. The vibration came again, short, sharp, impossible to ignore. I froze. Around me, the world was moving the way it was supposed to. The ropes tightened. The man at either side of the grave leaned forward in unison. The coffin began its slow descent into the earth, wood creaking softly as it sank lower, inch by inch. This was the moment everyone would remember. This was the moment my sister was supposed to be gone forever. My phone buzzed once more in my trembling hand. I swallowed hard and glanced down, shielding the screen from the rain with my palm. The glow felt wrong, too bright, too alive for a place meant for endings. Private number. My heart stuttered. I told myself not to open it. I told myself it was a mistake. Spam. A cruel coincidence. Anything but what my hands were already afraid of. But my thumb moved anyway. 3 short lines filled the screen. I'm alive. Don't trust our parents. For a second, I couldn't breathe. The sounds around me faded, the priest's voice, the sobs, the rain. Everything collapsed inward, leaving only the words pulsing in my vision like a wound that had just been torn open. Alive? My sister was right there. Being lowered into the ground. My stomach twisted violently, and I had to bite the inside of my cheek to stop myself from making a sound. This wasn't funny. This wasn't possible. My mind scrambled for logic, for sanity. Someone was playing a sick joke. They had to be. I looked up sharply, scanning the crowd beneath the umbrellas. Faces blurred together, neighbors from the village, distant relatives from the city, women whispering prayers, men staring solemnly at the grave. No one was smiling. No one was holding a phone. My parents stood inches away. My mother's lips were moving silently, her eyes fixed on the coffin. My father's jaw was clenched, his hands folded too neatly in front of him. Don't trust our parents. A chill slid down my spine, colder than the rain soaking through my clothes. I read the message again. And again. My sister had a habit of ending sentences without punctuation. She hated dots, said they felt too final. The thought hit me like a punch to the chest. My vision blurred. Are you all right? My mother whispered, finally turning toward me. I flinched at her voice. Yes, I lied automatically, shoving the phone into my pocket as the coffin disappeared completely from view. The rope slipped free. The grave was empty except for darkness and rain. Applause would have felt less surreal than the quiet that followed. I stood there, heart racing, the weight of the phone burning against my thigh. If this was a prank, it was cruel beyond forgiveness. But if it wasn't? I slowly stepped back from the grave, my legs unsteady, one terrifying thought repeating over and over in my mind. If my sister was alive, then someone had been lying. And I was standing right beside them. I didn't read the message again right away. I couldn't. My body moved on instinct, carrying me through the rest of the funeral like a ghost pretending to be human. Hands touched my shoulders. Voices offered condolences. Words like strong, brave, Allah Sabr drifted past me, hollow and distant. I nodded when expected, lowered my eyes when prayers were recited, but my mind was somewhere else, circling 3 impossible sentences glowing in the dark of my pocket. I'm alive. No. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. By the time we reached home, the rain had thinned to a mist. Our small village street was quiet, washed clean, children peeking from doorways as we passed. The house felt smaller than it ever had, crowded with relatives and the smell of incense and tea. Someone turned on a fan. Someone else closed the curtains. Life tried to resume its shape. I slipped into my room and locked the door. Only then did I pull out my phone. The message was still there. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped it. This is sick, I whispered to the empty room. My voice sounded unfamiliar, thin. People don't joke about death. My thumb hovered over the screen. 4A. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall as though it could somehow explain the impossible. Rain still tapped gently against the window, carrying the faint scent of wet soil and jasmine from the garden below. My hands trembled around the phone, unwilling to open it again, but unable to resist. Then it buzzed. Another message. From the same private number. Meet me at the old mango tree behind the mosque. Tomorrow, at sunrise. And, don't ask anyone. Not even the neighbors. My chest froze. The words alone would have been unsettling. But the message didn't stop there. A second line appeared immediately. Remember the blue ribbon you hid in my drawer last summer? Take it with you. You'll know what to do. I dropped the phone onto the bed. My breath caught in my throat. Blue ribbon? That was hers. Only she and I knew about it. Only we had laughed over that ribbon, the way it curled around our fingers while we whispered secrets in the attic. No, this can't be real, I muttered to the empty room. My voice sounded weak even to my own ears. I pressed my palm against my face, pressing back the rising panic that threatened to choke me. And yet, a spark of something I hadn't allowed myself in weeks, hope, ignited, small and fragile. Could it really be her? Alive? Sending messages? I thought of my parents, the way they had avoided questions, the tension that always lingered like smoke in the corners of the house. The thought of confronting them now, after reading this, it felt impossible. I couldn't. Not yet. I pulled the phone closer, scanning the message again. The location was unmistakable, the old mango tree, its branches gnarled and familiar, a place my sister and I had spent countless afternoons in childhood, sharing secrets and hiding from the world. A low, frantic whisper escaped me, "If it's really you, if it's really you." I didn't finish the sentence. I didn't need to. The blue ribbon, the place, the timing, it all matched too perfectly. I waited until nightfall, when the village streets had emptied and the only sounds were the distant barking of a dog and the soft rustle of leaves in the courtyard. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums and makes even the smallest noise feel like a shout. I crept along the hallway, bare feet silent on the cold tiles. My parents' room door was slightly ajar, a sliver of yellow light spilling into the darkness. My pulse quickened. I wasn't supposed to be listening. I shouldn't know. But something inside me demanded the truth. I pressed myself against the wall, careful not to breathe too loud. The muffled voices came through, tense, clipped, impossible to ignore. "She can't know," my mother said, her voice low but sharp. "If the neighbors or anyone else finds out, everything falls apart." I swallowed hard. Her words were like ice in my veins. "She's our daughter," my father said, but there was no warmth in it. Only a calculation. "I know, but protecting the family comes first. No one can know what we had to do." My stomach twisted. What had they done? The words were deliberate, secretive. There was no room for error, no concern for her well-being, only the image of the family, the reputation, the lies they had wrapped around our lives. I pressed closer to the door, straining to hear. She's alive," my mother whispered, almost a hiss. "We can't let anyone find out. Not now, not ever." I froze. Alive? My heart pounded so violently I thought it might burst. My hands clenched into fists. All the grief, the numbness, the sense of helplessness I had carried since the funeral, it boiled into rage. I wanted to burst through the door, to scream, to demand answers. But something held me back, fear, yes, but also the terrifying realization that whatever secret they were hiding, it had been orchestrated for a reason. The argument subsided into whispers, and then silence. I stayed pressed to the wall long after their voices faded, trembling, a storm of betrayal and anger swirling inside me. The truth was bigger, darker than I had imagined. My sister, my parents, everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. Finally, I stepped back, heart racing. I needed to see her. I had to see her. Whatever they had done, whatever secrets they kept, it didn't matter anymore. Tomorrow, at sunrise, under the old mango tree, the truth would come alive. And for the first time since her funeral, I felt a spark, not just of hope, but of purpose. The sun was just beginning to stretch its fingers over the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink, when I arrived at the old mango tree. Its branches twisted high into the morning light, leaves glistening with dew, and the scent of wet earth and ripe fruit hung thick in the air. My heart pounded so hard I was sure she could hear it from wherever she was hiding. I scanned the hollow at the base of the tree, the same nook we had used as children to hide notes and secrets. My breath caught. A shadow moved. "Sarah?" I whispered, my voice trembling. A figure stepped forward, shaking out the damp hair that had been pressed against her shoulders. My sister. Alive. Her eyes, dark, wary, and wide, met mine, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. I didn't know if you'd come," she said, her voice rough from disuse. I dropped to my knees beside her, unable to believe what I was seeing. You're alive. Why? Why did you?" My voice cracked, and tears welled in my eyes. She swallowed hard and looked away, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. "I had to," she whispered. "I couldn't stay there, with them, with everything they were planning. They were going to control me, force me into things I couldn't say no to. I couldn't, so I faked it. I had to disappear." The words hit me like a storm. My chest ached, relief and heartbreak colliding. But the funeral the grief, I stammered. I'm sorry, she said quickly, almost urgently. I didn't want you to see me suffer. I thought it was the only way to keep you safe, and me too. Her hand shook as she reached for mine. I held them tightly, feeling the warmth, the reality of her being here, alive, next to me. I thought I lost you forever, I whispered. I thought I was alone. You're not alone, she said, her voice barely audible. And you never will be. I'm here now. We'll figure it out, together. The mango leaves rustled overhead, stirred by a soft morning breeze. The world seemed to exhale around us, carrying the tension of months of fear and lies away. I pressed my forehead against hers, tears sliding freely now, and felt a fragile, trembling sense of hope settle between us. Whatever had happened, whatever they had planned, we could face it now. Together. And for the first time since that dark morning at the funeral, I believed we could survive. Tomorrow, the world would still be dangerous, still full of secrets. But at that moment, under the old mango tree, the truth was ours. And that was enough. The walk back to the house felt different this time. The village streets, usually familiar and comforting, seemed strange and quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The sun had fully risen now, spilling gold over mud walls and corrugated roofs, illuminating every detail I had ignored in my grief, the crooked signs, the children chasing stray kites, the faint smell of spices drifting from the morning market. But I hardly noticed. My mind was elsewhere, still tangled in the truth I had uncovered. When I reached the front gate, the house looked the same, windows shuttered, walls weathered, the same jasmine bush brushing against the porch, but everything inside it had changed. I stepped onto the courtyard tiles, my footsteps loud in the silence. My parents were there, as usual. My mother swept the floor, her movements precise, controlled. My father sat on the veranda, sipping tea, staring out at nothing in particular. Neither looked up as I approached. For a long moment, I stood frozen, studying them. The faces that had once seemed familiar now felt like masks, hiding the cold calculations and lies that had dictated so much of my life. I didn't speak. They didn't speak. You're home early, my mother finally said, her voice flat, measured. Yes, I replied, quietly. The words felt insufficient. But I didn't need more. The silence that followed was heavy, layered with understanding that didn't require explanation. They knew I knew. I knew I knew. And that knowledge shifted something inside me, a quiet power I hadn't felt before. I carried the memory of my sister with me, tucked like a secret behind my ribs. She was alive, safe for now, and that was enough to change everything. I glanced at my parents again, noting the way my father's hand trembled slightly around his cup, the way my mother's eyes flicked toward the porch as if anticipating someone, or something, that would never come. I turned toward the kitchen, my movements deliberate, calm. My parents remained where they were, silent, watching me. I could feel the weight of their judgment, the unspoken guilt lingering between us. But it didn't touch me the way it used to. For the first time, I realized I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their lies to shape my world. I had seen the truth. I had made a choice. I had survived. The jasmine swayed in the morning breeze, petals falling softly to the tiles. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. No confrontation was necessary. No words could undo the betrayal, nor did I want them to. I had found something stronger than anger. Something colder, sharper, and infinitely more freeing. Silence, in this house, was no longer oppressive. It was mine. And with that quiet strength, I stepped inside, ready for whatever came next. The night was cool, the village wrapped in a gentle silence that felt almost sacred. Stars glittered above, pale and steady against the inky sky, and the mango tree swayed softly in the breeze, leaves whispering secrets we had long carried. I knelt beside my sister, brushing damp strands of hair from her face, and for the first time since the funeral, I let myself imagine a life beyond fear. We have to leave, I said quietly, gripping her hands. For real this time. No hiding, no pretending, we disappear, together. She nodded slowly, eyes wide, a mix of fear and trust shining through. But, where? How? I squeezed her hand. Anywhere they can't reach us. Anywhere we can start over. Somewhere safe. We moved carefully through the village streets, shadows among shadows, each step measured. The air smelled of wet earth and smoke from the distant kitchens, carrying the faint laughter of children playing in the distance. I felt a strange sense of calm, even as my heart raced. For months, grief and doubt had clouded everything. Now, there was clarity. Purpose. At the edge of the village, I paused, glancing back at the rows of small houses, the jasmine hedges, the flickering lamps in the windows. My parents' house loomed in the distance, silent, unknowing of the choice we were making. I swallowed, letting the last tendrils of fear slip from my chest. Are you ready? I asked. Yes, she whispered, and for the first time, her voice held something I hadn't heard in years, relief. We walked faster, the path ahead dim and uncertain, but with every step, the weight of the past lifted slightly. I felt the tension in my shoulders ease, the tight knot of anger and betrayal slowly unraveling. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was choosing life. Do you think we'll be okay? She asked, glancing up at the stars. I smiled, despite the exhaustion, despite the fear. We have each other. That's enough for now. We'll figure out the rest when we get there. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of mangoes and wet soil. It wrapped around us like a promise, gentle but insistent. I felt hope stirring inside me, fragile but real. For the first time, the future wasn't something dictated by lies, by fear, by secrets. It was ours. We disappeared into the night, side by side, two sisters leaving behind a world of betrayal, stepping toward a life we would build together, alive, free, and finally, in control. And somewhere deep inside me, I knew this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning.